So now let's look at what a part-time schedule could look like. So again, there's the reminder of how the credit hours at the college convert to high school credits at the high school up at the top. So this particular student in the fall, they're taking English 1101 and Political Science 1101 at the college. Each of those are 3 hours. So they're going to get 6 hours of college credit, and those are going to convert back to the high school as 1 unit of English, 1 unit of government. And then at Pope, perhaps the student is taking pre-calculus, astronomy, and chorus. So they are going to be getting 3.5 units of high school credit. So that's the fall schedule. So in the spring, they take psychology 1101, econ 1101, so they get full credits for each of those. And then they take the second half of the Pope classes for another 3.5 units of total high school credit. So this particular student who's doing part-time is going to be getting 12 college hours and 7 high school credits. So again, this is a student who's going to be getting a little bit more high school credit than a typical Pope student would get. This particular student could be doing this as a junior and then still have credits for their senior year as well. They may take a slightly different classes, but this is just an example of what a part-time schedule could look like. So in the general session, I'm just going to reiterate something that you should have heard already. But this comes up and it's a big deal, and we just want to make sure everybody knows about it. Withdrawals through dual enrollment are very different at the high school level than when you're actually in college and you're not tied to a high school. So in college, students who are true college students not tied to a high school, they can drop classes a whole lot easier and a lot later than if you are a high school student. So in high school, we only give the first 10 days of the semester to make any kind of a schedule change. And this applies to dual enrollment students as well. So after our first 10 Cobb County school days, there are no more drops. There are no more changes to any of the schedules, whether it's a Pope schedule or a dual enrollment schedule. Any classes that are dropped beyond that time receive a grade of a 10 on the Pope transcript. Okay, so here's where the issue comes in, is that students who are enrolled in a particular college, they're going to get notifications from the college that go out to all the students. They're going to have professors that are going to tell them, give them advice that they don't typically, that don't necessarily apply to a high school student. So things to think about, okay? So this is going to apply even if the dual enrollment courses haven't even started. In a normal year, you know, if we started right on August the 1st or whatever our first day of school was supposed to be, sometimes colleges don't start their classes until mid-August. So because of our school year starting a little bit later this year, this probably wasn't an issue. But even if the student hasn't even begun their dual enrollment classes yet, if our first 10 days have come and gone, if they get into a class and take, you know, one day of the class and realize, oh my gosh, this is not a good fit, we can't change it. They're going to get a 10. Even if the college is advising these drop add periods, these withdrawal periods to the entire student body, this does not apply to dual enrollment students. This applies to the college students as a whole, but if a dual enrollment student drops their class, then it's going to impact their high school transcript. Even if the professor suggests the student drop the class, maybe they're not doing very well. And the professor, you know, this is not an uncommon thing for a professor to say, you know, maybe you should drop the class, try it again later. You know, this doesn't apply to dual enrollment students. I mean, it could, but they would get a 10, okay? Even if they take a quarter class that starts in October, sometimes colleges offer classes this way. It's important to look at that when you're registering for classes to make sure that if you want a class like that, that's great. If you don't and you sign up, then might not be a good idea because they're pretty condensed and they're pretty intense. But anyway, even if a course starts in October or March, halfway through the semester, same rules apply. Can't drop it after the first 10 days of the Pope semester. And then even if the course is taken in the summer. So we have a 10-day window in the summer as well, usually based on the summer school schedule that we have for the county. So this is what I call my obnoxious deadline page because it's pretty big and bold. And if you don't know what day our deadline is, then that's not a good thing. March 1st is the Pope deadline. Now, you're going to hear in the general session that the Cobb County deadline is different, okay? And college deadlines are going to be different than this. We set the Pope deadline here at as March 1st. And this is the deadline. This isn't the date by which you should try to aim for. Really earlier is even better. But every year we have people who come in, you know, later and they ask about dual enrollment. The problem with doing dual enrollment any later than March 1st is that you run the risk of not being able to get the classes that you want. And scheduled at the times that you need, because we're a traditional schedule school, because we have such crazy bell schedules, because, you know, we have a lot of kids who want to take these singleton classes and need classes special times. We really do this for the students. We do this for you guys. We set this deadline so that you're not trying to enroll in a school in July. Some schools have July deadlines, and we're thinking that's really late, because by that time, the classes that would work best in the student schedule are going to be full. Flat out, they're going to be full. 8 o'clock classes are going to fill up fast. Those noon to afternoon classes are going to get filled up fast. Mountain View classes, which are over here at Chat Tech, they get filled up super fast, because you're not just competing with Pope students to get in these classes. You're competing with all the other college students who are registering for classes. You're competing with Lassiter dual enrollment, Walton dual enrollment, Sprayberry dual enrollment, Kell dual enrollment, you know, everybody else. Okay, so March 1st, we set ours earlier than most, and that should give people plenty of time to get all of their steps done. Okay, we're going to talk about the dual enrollment checklist that we have for Pope in just a minute. But we do this for you. Don't see this as, oh, well, you're trying to punish us or something. That's not it at all. We're trying to help you, okay? It's your best interest to be admitted early, so that you can register at the first possible opportunity that students can register for their classes at the college. Most colleges require students to do an orientation before they can even register. So you need to get admitted. You need to set up all your accounts. You need to register for orientation and go to it, and then you could do your registration, and hopefully it's at the beginning of the registration. Hopefully you're not registering any past like May, okay, May into June. Every student should be able to get their schedule to me before the end of the school year. Okay, registration's first come, first serve. There's no squeezing a kid in. There's no, you know, oh, well, I really need this class to graduate. I've got to get into it. Colleges are not going to be flexible with that. They just don't. You know, that's not the way it works. So even if the college deadline is April 1st, May 1st, June 1st, July 1st, the Pope deadline is March 1st, because we want to help you students get the classes that you want. Okay, I'm going to move on, and hopefully that sticks with you guys. Okay, so the dual enrollment checklist. So at Pope, if you go to the Pope DE page that you see up there at the top, and I would encourage you guys to go ahead and pull that up if you can. If you have 2 screens or can look at 2 things at once. I'm just going to go through the different checklist steps that students have to follow in order to do dual enrollment at Pope. First step is to do this presentation. This one and the general session. We want everybody to get the basic information about dual enrollment before we start having discussions about it. We want you to be informed first. Get all the basics down, make sure you know what it's all about, and then let's move from there, okay? At the end of this presentation, there's going to be a log for you to log your attendance so that we can see that you have attended this presentation, so make sure that you do that at the end. Once you've heard all this information, we want you to research whether dual enrollment is the right fit for you. You need to think about things like, okay, what college do I eventually want to go to? Okay, if you want to go to UGA, if you want to go to Kennesaw State, if you want to go to Alabama, if you want to go to Harvard, if you want to go to Samford, Alabama, in, you know, private school in Alabama, you have to think about what are their dual enrollment policies? How will they accept the credits? A lot of schools will accept credits outright, but there are definitely colleges that will not, okay? There are colleges out there that say that if you are meeting a graduation requirement with that class, we're not taking it. There are colleges that just don't take dual enrollment at all, no matter what, because they want students to take their classes. You know, some have limits on how many dual enrollment classes they take. And some, you know, you're going to need to say, okay, well, if I take English 1101, what do they call it at this school? Will I get the same level of credit? Now, within Georgia, it's going to be a little bit more standardized. But even within Georgia, you're going to find differences. You're going to find different ways that courses transfer. And it's up to the family to research this information. It's up to the family to research the impact of dual enrollment versus AP, which is going to be better. Well, some colleges do see AP as more rigorous than dual enrollment because they know what goes into the AP curriculum. We have students who come back and say, oh, my dual enrollment classes are much easier than AP classes, but they're college level classes. They're getting credit for them, just like they could get credit for AP. But there are certain colleges that will say, well, what does your high school offer? Does your high school offer students all these AP classes, which Pope has a lot of them? You know, well, if students have those AP classes, why are they not taking those AP classes and doing this instead? So be careful, because some college will say, oh yeah, we accept dual enrollment. Oh yes, we look at it the same. But that might be a general statement, not knowing your high school. Once they start digging in and seeing what your high school offers, they may have a nuanced view of dual enrollment. So it's not as clear cut as what you may see. And I'm telling you that from a very experienced position. I've done this for a long time now. And that is an accurate statement of what I'm saying. Okay. Some schools take it no matter what, no problems. Sometimes you can tell whether they're giving weight. Schools give weight to, sometimes they'll give weight to classes like AP classes and different things. So sometimes if you ask, well, when you're recalculating the GPA for admission purposes, you know, are you giving weight to dual enrollment classes? Well, if they're not giving weight to dual enrollment classes, but they're giving weight to AP, that might be a clue to you that there might be a little bit more to what they are saying to you. Okay. How does it impact your GPA and your HOPE GPA? As you heard in the general session, the only way to get weight for dual enrollment classes is if you have maxed out the highest level of class at Pope, and then you're taking something beyond. So the majority of students are not going to be getting weight for their GPA, for the Pope GPA. HOPE is a different calculation, and HOPE gives a 0.5 extra quality point to dual enrollment and AP. So it's a different calculation. They look at it differently. So HOPE will weight that differently. Think about the day-to-day logistics. How are you going to transport yourself? Is parking going to be an issue? Lots of things to think about. You need to research all of this and decide, is this going to be the best fit for me? Okay. Another big thing that students need to be thinking about is the SAT or ACT AccuPlacer, the testing requirements that a college may have. Now, in a normal year, you have to submit SAT or ACT scores. This is a COVID year. You know, the University System of Georgia has made college admissions test optional this year. We don't know what that's going to be moving forward. And a lot of the dual enrollment programs are operating very similarly, but it's up to you guys to research that and see. There are some colleges I haven't heard from yet, and I wasn't able to find that information on their website. Reach out to them and ask them that question. KSU has put some information out, but I couldn't find anything about Georgia State. Perhaps they haven't published it yet. But please, it's up to you guys to research that. And if you do need to take an SAT or SAT, you need to take it in the fall. Remember, our deadline is March the 1st. And so if you are testing in March, you're going to be past that deadline. Okay. We want all of these steps to be done and completed, and the test scores into the college before March 1st. Okay. So testing ends up being a big issue. So keep this in mind. So you should be planning to take the SAT or ACT this fall if the college that you're looking at is going to still be requiring those scores for admission. Okay. AccuPlacer, that's a test that Chat Tech offers. It's one you can just call them and schedule. They have information on their website about that. Students who have AP scores, you need to go ahead and send those scores to the college so you can exempt those introduction courses. Go ahead and get those there. If you are testing in May and you have scores that you want to go, you need to make sure that you get those scores to them as soon as possible. They are not going to let you register for the next level course until they have that score. You guys who are in AP classes know that AP scores come back in July, right? So you're going to be late registering for classes if you're hoping to take those in the fall. It might be better for you to take those those classes that you want to exempt in the spring. Distance calculus kids are a little bit different. They're looking for them. They know that you guys are getting those scores in at the last minute, and it's a requirement to get into the program. So That's a little different. You can ask your counselor about that if you have questions, but go ahead and get those AP scores there. They need to have the official score from the testing agency, and that's the way all these tests work. You have to go to the College Board website, the ACT website, in order to send your scores. We at Pope, we don't send those scores. They're not official if they come from us. The dual enrollment application, students, you got to complete an application. It's just like applying to college. I mean, this is applying to college. So there's an application. It's going to be an easy application. You don't have to write essays. You don't have to get recommendation letters, but you're going to fill out the application, submit it. If you go to the college website, they'll have a link to that. And sometimes it's a different application than the general application to the college. Sometimes it's the same application and you're just checking off you're doing dual enrollment in the application. So you're getting a little bit of a taste of what college applications look like. So once you have done those steps, you're going to request that the counseling office send an official transcript to the college. Colleges need to see your grades. They need to see how you've done in your classes. Do you meet their minimum GPA requirements? So you do this through My Payments Plus. It's under events and activities. You can just sort of follow the trail to it. And those are all $2. It's a pretty simple thing. You're going to fill out a form and explain, it's going to ask you some questions about, have you watched this video, and gives you some information like that. Chat Tech doesn't require transcript. They don't look at GPA for admission, okay? You have to go to the GA Futures website to submit the dual enrollment funding application. Right now on GA Futures, it's one of those splash screens that pops up right there in the front. It says, click here to fill out your dual enrollment application. So you can click there and fill that out. So what's going to happen, the student will create an account. The student, not the parent. We want the student to do this. Create their account. They're going to go in and do the application. They're going to fill their part out. They're going to put the parent email address in there. And then when they hit submit, the email will be sent to the parent with a link for them to complete their portion of the application. And once those two signatures have been obtained on that application, then I will be able to see it. And once the student starts doing all the extra steps for getting enrolled in their classes, then I can go in and approve funding. This is how we submit the funding to the state. Okay, last step before meeting with a counselor is going to the Pope Dual Enrollment webpage, and the other document other than the checklist is the Cobb County School Agreement. So you're going to pull that up, you're going to read through it. It's got all the rules, all the regulations, a lot of stuff that you've heard from the general session and what I've talked about is in that. Please read it very carefully, because this is what you're agreeing to by doing dual enrollment. So read through that. You're going to initial each of the sections, you're going to sign at the bottom, and then you're going to email your counselor, and you can send this as your email to the counselor to say, hey, I'm ready for my dual enrollment advisement meeting. So in your email, send the school agreement to them and say, hey, I've done all the checks on the checklist. I'm ready for my dual enrollment meeting. So the counselor will respond. There's a few extra things that we want students to do. We want them to join a Remind. There's a Google form we want them to fill out. So we're going to give you a few extra little things to do, and we'll schedule a time to meet. And during that meeting, we will talk about their classes, we'll talk about their graduation requirements, we'll talk about their plans and how they want dual enrollment to work for them. And we do reserve the right to reschedule this meeting if you haven't completed the steps before, because really all of those extra steps ahead of time, if something gets skipped and we've already had the meeting and you go on thinking, oh, well, I'm good, I'm done with everything I need to do, you may be disappointed in May or June or whatever, thinking, well, I haven't heard anything from the college. What's going on? Something's missing. Well, we skipped a step. There's a step skipped. Okay, so we have the checklist there to make sure that you do all the steps that you need to do. Okay, so after the student has completed the application process, and the college will email the student and let them know of an admissions decision. Students, you need to be checking your email. The adult world works in email, and I know it's cumbersome. It's not as easy as texting. It's not as easy as snapping. You need to check your email, okay? You're gonna be looking for an email from the college between 2 to 6 weeks. It varies, but check your email for that announcement, and they're gonna give you information on how to log into your portal. At the college, you're gonna have a special portal. They're gonna assign you an email address. Just like you have a Cobb County students.cobbk12.org email address, you're going to get a students.kennesaw.edu email address. They're going to give you information on registering for either an advisement or an orientation, sometimes both, depending on the college. And you want to do that quickly. Remember how I said earlier, you have to do orientation before you can register for your classes. So make sure that you do that. And it's all going to be coming through email to the student. Okay, it's going to go to the student. The student is the one who's in charge of making sure these steps happen. Okay, register for your classes as soon as possible. As soon as you get the go-ahead, you need to get your classes registered for. And this is something that you learn about how to do during your orientation. I can show people how to do it, but that's the college's job to advise you on how to do that kind of stuff. I get questions a lot of times from people saying, hey, how do you do this at KSU, or how does this work? And I'm like, you're going to have to talk to the college about that, because they change their stuff all the time. They don't always update us. They don't tell me, how to get your books. That's the college's responsibility. And it's your responsibility to make sure you go to those things, okay? If they send it to you on email, or if it's a virtual orientation, that's totally fine. Just make sure you go through it and you listen and you pay attention, you take notes. Hang on to that information, because it may not be relevant right then, but maybe it'll become relevant later. Make sure you keep up with all of that. And then once you have registered for your classes, you're going to pull up the detailed view of your schedule, and you're going to email a PDF of that to your counselor. Once you've done that, you have done what you need to do for dual enrollment, okay? Sometimes we have extra little things we need you to do, and I'll probably do some verification stuff with you a little bit later, but this is the big bulk of what you need to do for dual enrollment. And we want those before the last day of school, earlier if possible. As soon as you register, we want that schedule, because that proves to us you've registered for your classes, and then I can go in and do the funding approval for you to get funding for those classes. Colleges are going to require that you also submit immunization records. Some of them are going to say you need to submit verification of lawful presence documents like a driver's license or a birth certificate. So just follow their instructions there. But immunizations don't transfer to colleges once you graduate from high school, or from high school to the college. So you might have to speak with your pediatrician to get that information to send up to the college. Okay, so if you are interested in dual enrollment, those are the basic steps and the checklist of things you need to do. Do the checklist, and then once you get down to the point to contact your counselor, send them an email to set up that session. And the counselors are here. Our contact information is also on the webpage, and we encourage you to go there. We're going to post this video onto the dual enrollment page that you've seen earlier. And we're happy to answer any questions that you have. So we're looking forward to working with you, and just keep that March 1st deadline forefront in your mind, that we want everything done well before March 1st. That's like the drop dead deadline. We want everything done before that, okay? If you have questions about how that would work, let us know, we can help, okay? So the last thing that I have here is for you to log your attendance, so that we know you attended this, and we can check that one checkbox off on the very first little section of the checklist. So here is our attendance log. So either use your QR code reader on your phone, or go to the website and just fill it out. It's just a few little questions about what your intentions are for dual enrollment, and then we're good to go. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you for attending the presentation, and we hope to work with you soon about dual enrollment. Thank you very much.